Palm Jumeirah looks like an island. It looks like a permanent triumph of human ambition floating seamlessly on the surface of the Arabian Gulf. The world sees a masterpiece of luxury. People see billions of dollars of premium real estate, pristine beaches, and endless rows of opulent villas stretching out into the ocean. But without one 11-kilometer wall, much of what the world sees as permanent luxury would be exposed reclaimed sand. Engineers recently tested that wall against future sea levels and extreme waves. The result was not the victory Dubai had advertised to the world. And the most disturbing number in that study was not the height of the water. It was the weight of a single rock. The illusion is incredibly convincing. When you stand on the outer edges of this massive structure, it feels as solid as bedrock. It is designed to make you forget where you are. But the ocean does not forget. The ocean operates on geological time, and it recognizes only physics every single day. The water presses against the boundaries of this artificial world, testing the mathematics that keep it dry. Dubai sold a vision of absolute control over nature. Yet quietly, behind the scenes, the narrative of control is crumbling. We are going to look at the exact engineering reality that threatens this coastal empire. Because the truth about the Palm is not that it is disappearing tomorrow. The truth is much darker. Palm Jumeirah was not discovered. It was pumped, sprayed, and compacted into existence. To understand the vulnerability of this location, you must first understand the violence of its creation. Nearly 100 million cubic meters of limestone sand were dredged from the seabed miles offshore and brought to this exact spot. This was a monumental logistical campaign. The construction process had to balance two conflicting forces simultaneously. The sand was sprayed to form the fronds in the trunk, but if the sand advanced too quickly, it would be washed away by the open currents. If the protective barrier was closed too quickly, the massive dredging ships would lose their access routes. Palm Jumeirah is a manufactured coastline. It is a luxury district assembled entirely from seabed sediment. It is real estate placed exactly where water once moved freely. In essence, it is a giant deposit of loose sand waiting patiently behind a defense system. To me, Palm Jumeirah becomes profoundly unsettling the moment the hotels and the pools disappear from the image. What remains is not a natural miracle. It is an enormous pile of movable material, vulnerable to the slightest shift in planetary conditions. When we strip away the branding and the tourism campaigns, we are left with a massive engineering experiment. And the most important structure on Palm Jumeirah is not Atlantis or any of the five-star resorts. It is the object almost every luxury photograph pushes out to the very edge of the frame. The crescent surrounding the palm is not a decorative frame. It is an 11-kilometer breakwater. It is the only thing standing between the carefully curated luxury lifestyle and the unforgiving reality of the open Gulf. This structure consists of a core, a filter layer of rocks, and a massive outer armor layer. Approximately 7 million tons of rock were blasted from mountains and transported here to build this shield. The entire system is designed with one brutal purpose. It must absorb and redirect the immense energy of ocean waves before that energy can reach the soft sand fronds resting quietly inside. Palm Jumeirah is not an island that happens to have a breakwater. It remains an island because the breakwater continues to work. Every luxury villa, every high-end dining experience, and every private beach exists solely by the grace of this barrier. But building a massive wall creates a unique problem for a luxury destination. People pay millions of dollars for unobstructed views of the ocean. During the engineering review for future upgrades, a strict condition was placed on the designers. The crest elevation of the breakwater could not be increased. The wall could not be built taller, because making it taller would ruin the sightlines for the wealthy residents and the tourists. Dubai needed protection from the sea, but not if the protection ruined the view of the sea. That visual compromise matters immensely, because the water outside the wall is no longer being measured against the stable conditions of the year 2001. The ocean is changing. And a wall that cannot grow taller must eventually face a force it was not originally scaled to defeat. Sea level rise does not need to tower over the skyscrapers of Dubai to cause a catastrophe. It only needs to remove a little more distance between the surface of the water and the top of the wall. The engineering study examined future scenarios surrounding the year 2070. They looked at high tides, storm surges, and the slow, inevitable creep of rising oceans. They calculated what would happen when an extreme wave rides on top of that elevated water column. Then the researchers sent the future wave toward the existing wall. The wall did not pass. The model used a significant wave height of approximately 4.23 meters for high water conditions during a 100-year event. The original design had previously anticipated a lower threshold. Significant wave height is an engineering metric that represents the average height of the highest third of the waves. It means that while the average is 4.23 meters, individual waves could be significantly larger. The difference looks small on a graphic. But coastal defenses do not fail because a number looks dramatic to the public. They fail when small, continuous changes push forces beyond the rigid assumptions built deep into the structure. When engineers tested the existing rocks against this new wave height, the mathematics collapsed. The existing armor layer relies on rocks weighing between 3 and 6 tons. When the researchers applied their stability formulas to the new 4.23-meter wave condition, the required mass escalated. The study concluded that the existing armor layer failed to meet the applied stability criteria for the modeled event. The calculation determined that the minimum average mass required for the rocks was now much higher. The rocks protecting the most famous coastline in Dubai were already massive. The calculation said massive was no longer enough. The number was 8.1 tons. Let that sink in. The fundamental building blocks of the defense system are no longer heavy enough to guarantee stability against the future forces modeled in the study. But the rocks moving is only half of the problem. The study also measured overtopping, which is the amount of water that physically crashes over the wall during extreme events. The acceptable criterion for this specific scenario was 1 liter per second per meter of the wall. Using empirical methods, the calculations showed approximately 1.63 liters. When using a neural network simulation, the result was over 2 liters. Both methods delivered different numbers, but both pointed to the exact same conclusion. The current profile of the wall must be modified to meet the overtopping criteria. 1 meter of wall overtopping does not sound like a threat to Palm Jumeirah. Stretch that calculation around 11 kilometers of defense, multiply it by the duration of a storm, and the meaning changes entirely. Water over the wall means flooding. It means structural damage. It means the illusion of safety is shattered. This was not a Hollywood prediction that the palm would vanish tomorrow. The toe of the structure and the filter layers still met the tested criteria. It was something colder and much more bureaucratic. The defense surrounding permanent real estate was becoming outdated. Dubai had built an icon meant to last forever. The sea had turned it into a structure with a mandatory upgrade schedule. More than 20 years after Dubai sprayed the palm into existence, the massive dredging ships returned, not to create a new icon for the world to marvel at, to put coastline back exactly where the sea had refused to leave it alone. This was 2023. The international marine contractor, Van Oord, completed the first major maintenance project on the Palm. Decades of continuous erosion had slowly stripped the sand away from the carefully designed beaches. The project required reshaping and elevating approximately 55 kilometers of beach by about half a meter. They had to construct 3 new groins just to slow down the relentless erosion. And they had to pump approximately 1.8 million cubic meters of fresh sand back onto the edges of the island. Dubai sold permanent waterfront property. The waterfront, apparently, remained highly movable. Think about the sheer scale of 1.8 million cubic meters. That is not a minor landscaping task. That is a massive industrial operation taking place mere steps away from people eating luxury dinners and sleeping in penthouse suites. At what point does maintaining an artificial island become rebuilding it? The return of the dredgers shatters the mythology of the Palm. It proves that the island is not a finished product. It is a continuous, exhausting battle against physics. And sand was only the smallest, softest material in the equation. The most damaging image for Dubai is not a submerged hotel. It is a dredger returning to the exact same beach over and over again, because that image reveals the hidden contract behind the miracle. The sea does not need a catastrophic tsunami to take back the Palm. It has the patience to do it slowly. The ocean collects its debt one grain of sand at a time. The beaches narrow. The slope angles shift. The coastal defenses slowly degrade. And then the heavy machinery must return. The shoreline must be surveyed, measured, manipulated, and artificially reconstructed. What interests me is not whether Dubai has the financial capital to afford another massive load of sand. What makes this disturbing is why a place marketed as the pinnacle of permanent human achievement must repeatedly be put back into its original shape. This reality poses a severe threat to the broader economic engine of the city. Dubai built a massive tourism empire on this sand. The entire hospitality and restaurant industry stretching across these fronds demands absolute perfection to function. The city has recently faced immense pressure to maintain its status as a premium global destination amidst shifting economic tides. Any visible vulnerability in its premier attraction threatens billions of dollars in real estate and luxury dining investments. A coastal crisis here is not just a localized engineering failure. It is a direct threat to the core of the Dubai tourism machine. Investors do not pour capital into waterfront restaurants if the water is slowly consuming the front steps. Tourists do not pay premium rates to listen to the grinding engines of dredging ships rebuilding their private beach. The pristine aesthetic must be maintained at all costs because the economy depends on the illusion of stability. Because the researchers did not propose merely replacing more sand to fix the future problem, they proposed operating on the wall itself. The engineering study did not just deliver bad news, it proposed preliminary design solutions to keep the defense system functioning in the future. These are not minor repairs. They are massive infrastructural interventions. There are 3 potential surgeries to keep the Palm alive. The first operation is brutally simple. Place a new defense over the defense Dubai already built. The study calculated a scenario where rocks of the same 3 to 6 ton class could be used, but the slope would need to be flattened and the crest would need to be widened by approximately 2.44 meters. The crescent would literally have to grow thicker, swallowing up more space to absorb the energy it can no longer handle. If the wall cannot become much taller without damaging the precious view, it can spread farther into the sea. The second operation involves building a wide, flat berm extending approximately 4.88 meters out, heavily modifying the geometry of the barrier. The Palm protects its luxury horizon by making its hidden armor consume more space beneath the surface. It is a lateral retreat disguised as an expansion. But the third operation reveals the true desperation of artificial coastal engineering. If modifying the existing wall is not enough, the preliminary design suggests building another entirely separate breakwater underwater, further out in the ocean. This submerged structure would stand roughly 9.3 meters tall from the seabed and over 15 meters wide. Its sole purpose would be to trip the waves, breaking their energy before they even reach the main crescent. An artificial island, protected by an artificial wall, may eventually need another artificial wall hidden beneath the sea just to survive. Dubai did not defeat nature. It merely placed very expensive layers of engineering between nature and the property market. How many new walls does a victory need before it begins to look like a retreat? The Palm looks effortless only because the incredible effort required to sustain it has been successfully moved out of sight. Behind the infinity pools, behind the extravagant beach clubs, and behind the glowing facades of the resorts is a permanent, tireless coastal operation. Dubai operates a network of monitoring stations along its coast and offshore buoys to constantly measure water levels, meteorological data, and oceanographic shifts. There are ships surveying the seabed. There are engineers calculating the exact degradation of the rock armor. There is a constant influx of data required just to know how fast the environment is eating away at the edges of the real estate. The Palm is not a piece of land. It is a machine that requires continuous life support. The real engineering achievement here may not be that Dubai managed to create the Palm in the first place. The true achievement may be that Dubai has managed to hide how much agonizing work is required to keep the Palm looking finished. They have normalized the extreme. They have convinced the world that a fragile pile of sand resting in the open ocean is as permanent as a mountain, but the data shows the cracks in that narrative. Dubai proved it could build land in the sea. It never proved it could stop rebuilding it. The true vulnerability of Palm Jumeirah is not just physical, it is psychological. Dubai built its modern global identity on the absolute guarantee of stability. When international billionaires purchase a private beachfront villa, they are not merely buying luxury. They are buying the unwavering certainty that the beach will remain exactly where the marketing brochure promised. But the constant, looming presence of offshore dredgers and the escalating need for massive structural upgrades threaten that very certainty. The hospitality industry on the Palm operates on a knife edge of perception. A 5-star luxury resort cannot market itself as an untouched paradise if the ocean outside its windows is actively dismantling its foundation. The crisis here is invisible but profound. Every time the defense system requires a major surgery, every time a new load of massive rock is calculated, a quiet panic ripples through the real estate market. The towering hotels, the premium dining ecosystems, and the exclusive beach clubs all rely on the deeply ingrained illusion that the ground beneath them is naturally permanent. If global investors begin to perceive the Palm not as a finished architectural masterpiece, but as an ongoing, desperate construction site battling the sea, the entire financial model fractures. Capital flight is always faster than coastal erosion. Dubai knows this intimately. They know they cannot afford a single moment of visible, unmanaged failure. The city is locked into a high-stakes gamble where the cost of physical maintenance will inevitably rise decade after decade, but the cost of doing nothing is absolute economic collapse. They are not just fighting the physical weight of the ocean currents, they are fighting the crushing weight of investor expectations. The rock armor must hold. Not just to keep the open water out, but to keep the international capital firmly in. Every single grain of sand lost to the tide is a fraction of a luxury empire threatened by reality. Palm Jumeirah does not need to disappear tomorrow for the sea to win. The water only needs to rise a little higher over the coming decades. The extreme waves only need to reach a little farther during a storm. The sand only needs to move a little more aggressively along the crescent. And Dubai must respond. They must respond with another bathymetric survey, another massive dredger ship burning diesel just offshore, another layer of perfectly graded rock, and another defensive structure buried deep beneath the water. This cycle will never end, because the forces acting against the island will never stop. The luxury villas can be sold to billionaires. The extravagant hotels can be branded and rebranded. The iconic coastline can be photographed from space and printed on millions of tourist brochures. But the sea never signed away ownership of that space. Dubai did not build permanent land. It built the world's most expensive lease from the ocean. And the rent is paid in sand, stone, and perpetual anxiety. Is Palm Jumeirah humanity's ultimate victory over nature? Or is it just proof that nature was only waiting to hand us the maintenance bill? This video essay is based on an engineering study published in 2023, evaluating the Palm Jumeirah breakwater under updated design wave conditions and sea level rise. The claim regarding the 8.1-ton rock requirement specifically relates to the calculated average nominal mass for the armor layer under the 100-year wave event model. 4. 23M significant wave height, which the existing 3 to 6 ton rock class did not meet. The study found that the existing structure did not meet the updated criteria for armor stability and overtopping, but confirmed that the tow and filter layers remained stable. It does not state the island is currently sinking or facing imminent destruction. The 3 upgrade solutions, flattening slope, adding a berm, submerged breakwater, are preliminary engineering proposals requiring further geotechnical testing. Information regarding the 2023 maintenance references the Van Ord Beach Nourishment Project, which added approximately 1.8 million cubic meters of sand. ASCA. If you found this deep dive into the engineering reality of Dubai fascinating, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think artificial islands are worth the endless maintenance, or is it a battle humanity is destined to lose? See you in the next documentary.